Hello. In the early part of the last century, alpine mountaineering was becoming a very popular sport. But as a new emerging sport, they didn't have access to the same technical equipment that we do today. They had to come up with new and inventive and imaginative methods to reach the higher peaks. One Austrian mountaineer came up with a method of using a loop of rope, attaching it to an anchored line by a friction hitch, and then using that to tackle the more difficult pitches to reach the summit. That chap's name was Dr. Karl Prusik, and he documented his work in a manual of mountaineering in 1931. And we've been using Prusiking, the Prusik knot, Prusik hitch, and Prusik loops ever since. They have applications in mountaineering, climbing, mountain rescue, and indeed we use them in bushcraft. So I thought today we'd look at a bushcraft application for the Prusik hitch, but to do that we need to be able to make a Prusik loop. And to make a Prusik loop you've got to tie the two ends together, and one efficient method of that is a double fisherman's knot. So I've made a short video of how to tie a double fisherman's knot, how to make a Prusik loop, and then the application for bushcraft with paracord. The purpose of a double fisherman's knot is to tie two ends of rope or cord together. So that you can follow this demonstration easier, I'm using a yellow and a green rope, and I've laid them out as you see on the board here. I'll take the yellow rope and I'll pass it over the green, underneath and round the back, and then wrap it around both once more. I'm then going to take the end through the first loop and through the second loop and just pull that, cinch it down a little bit, the yellow rope lying on top of the green and across. That's the first half of the double fisherman's done. For the next half I'm going to be working on the green rope, so I'm going to do the same. I'm going to take that over, then back, and then wrap it around both, and take the green end, put it through this first wrap, then through here, and pull that to cinch it down. Once again, the green and the yellow ropes lying parallel. So you end up in a position like this, where you've got the yellow rope, in this instance, tied around the green, and the green rope tied around the yellow. I then take the two ropes, I pull them, and the two knots slide together. And then tighten the two knots down a little bit, and cinch the two and put them under load. With these tail ends, I can then use some electrical insulation tape on a rope this diameter and wrap that round, tidy that end up, and do the same here to tidy this end up. And as you notice, the two knots sit very closely together, and the more load you put under, the more the two knots bind together to stop the ropes coming apart. And that's a double fisherman's knot. So having looked at the double fisherman's knot, we're now going to use that double fisherman's knot in a length of paracord to make a Prusik loop. So that's what we're aiming to make now. To make it, we're going to need something to seal the ends of the paracord when we cut it, something to cut the paracord, either a pocket knife or a pair of scissors. This is a length of shrink tubing that I use to tidy up the ends of the knot, and then we're going to need the paracord itself. I tend to buy paracord online. It's quite reasonably priced online. I get it 100 meters or 200 meter drums. And to make a Prusik loop, we're going to need between length 18 and 24 inches long, which is I'm guessing somewhere in the region of probably around 60 centimetres. So I'm not going to bother measuring that, it's just a rough amount. So cut the ends on that. Need to sharpen my pocket knife. And then we need to seal the two ends that we've just cut, because it does tend to fray. Be careful when you're doing this, because the paracord, when it's being sealed, or when it's just being sealed, is still quite hot. Okay, so there we have our piece of paracord with the ends sealed. Now we're going to use the heat shrink to take care of the loose ends later. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a couple of small pieces of this. And then I'm going to thread them on to my paracord now. The reason I do this now is because when we've tied the two ends together, I wouldn't be able to get the heat shrink on later. Then we're going to lay the paracord out in the same fashion that we laid the green yellow rope out. And I'm going to take the paracord that's closest to me. I'll wrap it over the top and round once. Round a second time. And then through the first wrap. And through the second wrap. And just take up some of the slack. So there we go. The tail end is lying parallel to the main body of the paracord, and we have the cross. Now I'm going to end up and work on the loose end. So wrap round once, and again take the tail end through the first wrap and through the second wrap, and then just again take up a little bit of the slack. And there you have it. Again, tail end sitting against the main body of the paracord. So there's our two knots as we had earlier. We're now going to pull these two together. Tighten the ends up. Put some load onto the main one to pull some of the paracord through. And there's our knot. Two knots that are double fisherman's knot. Two ends of the knot are close, locked in together. Then all I'm going to do, take my shrink wrap, push it over the end, and then very carefully, because I don't want to melt the main paracord or the knot, I'm going to very slowly just shrink wrap that top, and then do the same on the other side. And the reason I'm doing this is because once I've made a Prusik loop, I don't intend to take it apart again. And there you have it, one Prusik loop, and that now becomes part of my tarp hanging kit. Okay, so this is the Prusik loop we made earlier. There's the fisherman's knot, there's the tidied tail ends. And what we're going to do now is see how we use this to make a Prusik hitch or Prusik knot. This rope here is representing a fixed line. It could be the ridge line, or it could be a line attached to the side of a mountain that I then want to use the Prusik hitch, which is a friction hitch, to climb up the rope. What I'm going to do initially is put the loop against the rope, then I'm going to position it so that the double fisherman's knot is on the long end, not at the end, and away from where I'm going to make the hitch, which is going to be here. I'm then going to bring the rope over, bring the paracord over, and just thread it through on itself. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue doing that several times, and each time I go through the loop, but I also go inside the previous coil. Then at this stage, it's a good idea to dress the knot down properly, because the tidier the Prusik hitch is, the more effective it is. So if you notice, each of the coils lies flat against the rope, the fixed line that is. And now, when I push, I can move that Prusik hitch up and down the rope wherever I want to. That is until I apply a load on it. When I apply a load, it locks in place. I can then loosen it off a little bit, and it will slide again. And it doesn't matter which direction I apply the load, it will still lock. Loosen it off, and it will slide again. Now, in applications of hanging a tarp, if this was your ridge line, all you'd need to do is connect your tarp to this point on the loop and then pull until the tarp was taut. And at that point, your tarp isn't going to collapse on you. Then in the morning, when you're ready to go, slide that, disconnect this from your tarp, and then leave the Prusik knot on your ridge line. That's what I do. I've got a ridge line that is ready to go. I string the ridge line up. I've got the Prusik loops already on it. I attach the Prusik loops to the tarp, cinch up the tarp, and it's a lot less hassle than trying to fly the tarp from scratch every single time. So there you have it. That's how to make a Prusik loop and how to tie the Prusik hitch. I'd suggest that you make a few of those and keep them on your ridge line, and then make a few more to keep in your tarp setup and your bushcraft kit, because there's quite a few applications where you can use a sliding hitch that tightens under load. So until we see each other again, take care and thanks for joining me.